Welcome to my car vlog, or welcome back to my car vlog. I don't really have an intro, so I'm not gonna be driving anywhere or doing anything. I just have to sit in my fucking car and record, because when I record inside, I feel like I'm being listened to, and it's just like uncomfortable, and like that wouldn't be fun for you to watch. So we're just gonna pretend
that this is a car vlog, even though the car's not moving.
Anyways, hi, my name is Lorian. Today I want to tell a story that a lot of my friends have already heard, but I think it's kind of like a fun and interesting story and probably relatable to a lot of females that are, in the dating scene. So just thought I would share, this is a story time channel. That's how I'm going to be starting off. So I'm not gonna say if I have Tinder or not, just for like a lot of reasons, but clearly if you're watching this video, you've seen the title, which is like, I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna call it, but
like Tinder date gone wrong.
I met this boy, and I primarily knew him through like social media outlets. So I had like seen his Instagram pictures, and like they were very aesthetic and had like, like how like e-boys will have like the pink like background or whatever. He had that very appealing like Instagram to look at, like the pink background on his photos and like the aesthetic angles and
like parking garages
and like all that cool shit. And I was like, wow, like my type. I'm super into e-boys, as most females are, and I was like really digging his vibe. He offered to like take me out, and I was like, all right, like you seem cool, we seem to have a lot in common. And so we were like talking a little bit before we went on a date, just like through text, like iMessage and shit. We seemed to have a lot in common, and it was going really great, and we had like very similar ideals and like what we wanted in a relationship and stuff like that. And then he started like, how guys will be like nasty, just to kind of like test your waters for like what you're okay with. Maybe not all guys do this, maybe that's literally just me and boys are literally just gross at me, but like I thought that he was like kind of like testing the waters to like see what I would be okay with like little like sexual innuendos and like scenarios and shit like that. I wasn't like really digging it, just because I'm not super into like fucking on a first date, just because like I like to think that I have like a little bit of dignity, so he was like suggesting that we have sex on the first date, and I was like, like because of past experiences, like I'm probably not gonna fuck you on the first date, so like don't get your hopes up. And he was like,
yeah, no, totally, like unless it goes really well.
Yeah, like I just kind of went along with it because I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't super feeling it, but I was like, when the date comes around, like you won't let that happen. Like I'm sure that he'll be like much more shy and like to himself that like in person than he is on iMessage, because that's how it usually goes. Well, we were gonna get ice cream. I picked the ice cream place because my friend works there, and I was thinking that's a good idea, because if I don't show up, then my friend can like call my parents and be like, hey, Lori was supposed to show up here with her date and she hasn't, and if I did show up and things weren't going good, then I had like my safety net, I had her, and I knew that I would be seeing her. So I'm texting him, and he's like, all right, like I'll come pick you up. And just because of like past experiences and like my own boundaries, I prefer to be the one that drives on a first date, because when you're in a boy's car, like whether or not they seem trustworthy, like whatever, like they have the power and control if you're in their car, and that just makes me feel uncomfortable. Like do you know what I mean? So I just prefer to drive, because then like I'm the one that has like some of the power and control, and like I can pick where we go, and like I can pick what happens, like it's my area, it's my safe space. And so I was like, oh no, I prefer to drive. I was using there's a parking garage that's by the ice cream place where we were gonna go, and parking is like $15. And I was like, I'm a local. He lived kind of far away, and I was like, I'm a local, so I have this pass to the parking places so that we only have to pay like $3 versus the $15 that like you would normally have to pay. Like, I'm not trying to have you paying close to $20 just to park to go spend more money on ice cream, you know? And even though I could take the pass with me in his car, I was kind of just using it as an excuse that we would have to use my car, you know? So I like told him that, and he was like, all right, cool. But then he kept being like,
so I'll come pick you up.
and I just kept being like, oh no, like, haha, remember, I'm gonna drive because I have the pass, haha. And so like the day comes, and he's like, where should I meet you? And I was like, meet me at Dunkin' Donuts. There's this Dunkin' Donuts that's like near my house-ish. And he was like, all right. So he gets there, and I meet him. Well, I pull up, right? And I text him, I'm like, hey, I'm here, are you inside? Do you want me to come inside and meet you? Or like, what's the deal? And he was like, no, I'm in my car on the other side, because like the building, there's like the front part, and then there's this side part where like there's a wall and like dumpsters, and it's like kind of more sketchy, but it's like off to the side. And so he had parked over there, and I was in the front, and he was like, I'm in my car, like on the side. He like told me what kind of car it is or whatever, and he was like,
Come get in.
and in my head I was like, all right, like there's not much to say to like argue that without being like weird and annoying. So I was like, all right, like I'll get out of my car and I'll go walk over and get him, but I'm not gonna get in his car, I'm gonna bring him to mine. So I get out and I go over, and like the windows are very tinted. Like there's no way that like, I don't know cars very well, but there's no way that was a legal tint. There's no way. But I went over and I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and I had mostly seen him through social media, and so I was expecting something a little bit different. And so that was like a little bit disappointed because he didn't quite look how I was expecting him to. And so he got out of his car, and I was already like disappointed, so the mood was already like a little bit off. But I was like, you know what, like I committed to this date, like sometimes people look different. He probably thinks that I'm a fucking catfish because I look way hotter on my social media stuff than I do in real life. So I was like, you know what, we're both catfishes, like fucking whatever, like I made a commitment, let's get this date over with, like maybe it'll go good. And so he like opens the door and he's like, hey, get in. And I'm like, no, like I have the pass, remember, like let's go to my car. And he just kind of like reluctantly gets up and comes over and gets in my car, and it's already like awkward, the vibe's already off, because like clearly I'm like a little bit uncomfortable, and like he's very awkward and shy, which I had a feeling he would be because he had been like so bold and upfront when we were texting. But so he like gets in, sits right over here, and we drive to the parking garage, and I actually see my parents there. Like my parents had left earlier, and I didn't know where they were going because I don't fucking keep up with my parents' lives. But they had left earlier, and turns out they were going downtown, like in the same area that we were. So they were parked in the parking garage, and I'm like, yo, there's my parents. And so I fucking go park by them, and I'm like, this is a good idea, just in case anything goes wrong, like I'm parked next to my parents, whatever. And I text them, I'm like, let them know that we're in the same area. So we were walking around, and we go, and I was like, hey, like my friend works here, like let me like stop and like say hi. And so I go in, and my friend is there, and I'm like, hey, like he's like off in the background being weird, and I'm like talking to my friend, and I'm like, all right, like let's go. We didn't order anything, and we go and we walk around, we just like talk, and I show him the area, and we're just like speed walking in circles around like the same area, just like talking with like nothing to actually do because we didn't really plan the date properly. Oh, I had been holding like my purse in this hand, my phone in this hand, so that he couldn't hold my hand because I was not comfortable, and it wasn't like a great date. It wasn't going super well. It was hot outside. I was just not feeling it. So I was like, he's gonna try to hold my hand. So I was holding shit in both of my hands so that he couldn't, you know? I'm like talking, and in the midst of me talking, I moved my hands a lot, as you probably have noticed. I like switched my like purse to where my phone was, and so I had one hand free, and he just like immediately, like when it happened, he like grabbed my hand, and I was like, and I just ignored it. Like every time like nothing happened, I just like kept talking, and then he like was doing that thing where he was like rubbing like circles like into my fucking hand, and I was just not digging. I wasn't reciprocating. I was just like, we just kept walking and talking, and I was like,
hey, do you want to go get ice cream?
because I was just trying to get this fucking like weird romance moment that he was trying to go for like out of the way. So I was like, let's go get ice cream. And so we go, and my friend is still there, obviously, and I'm just like talking to her and like trying as many flavors as I can just so I can like avoid going back to this fucking date. And so we get the ice cream, and he gets a water bottle as well, and I end up like he is more grown than I am, and I don't have a job yet, especially this time, and he knows that, and I end up paying, which like isn't that big of a deal, like women's equality or whatever. He invited me out on this date. I had driven, which I offered to, obviously, but like, I don't know, like he gets 2 things, I get 1. I don't have a job, he's more grown. Like, I was expecting him to pay, but he didn't. I did, but that was just like kind of it was just like a little cherry on top of everything else that I was disliking about this date. I was like, wow, note of that. I'm gonna keep walking around. I like finish my ice cream or whatever, and it's like 8:45, and I'm like, it's a Friday, like there's a whole night ahead of us where he's gonna try to fuck me. Like, I could just feel it. And so I text my dad, and I'm like,
do I have a curfew?
When I like mentioned to this boy, I'm like, oh my god, I might have a curfew, like I might have to go home soon, I don't know. I like text my dad, I'm like, do I have a curfew? And he's not answering. And I call him, and I guess my stepmom like realized that I probably wasn't having a great time, and that I was asking if I have a curfew so that he would give me a curfew so I could come home. So I call him, and he's like,
Shawnee's saying that you probably want to come home, but I don't know, I guess your curfew's like 11?
And I was like, it's 8:45, if my curfew's 11, I have another like fucking like couple of hours where this kid is gonna be trying to fuck me. And so I was like, 9? Damn, alright, I'll come home soon. And then I hung up, but I like look back at this boy, and I'm like, oh my god, like my dad said that my curfew's 9, like holy fuck. And so we like rush back to my car, like kind of in silence, to be honest, and I'm just like,
I'm so sorry, like the life of like a strict parent.
and so we like get back in my car, and I drive him very swiftly back to the Dunkin' Donuts, and I park where I had before, which is in the front, and again his car is on the side. And he was like, so he said like go park over there, like where his car was, but he didn't say it because my car's over there or anything. He said
go park over there because it's darker.
And like dumb ass, stupid ass me was like,
That feels dangerous, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
so I fucking parked my little ass right over there in the fucking darkness. It's fucking like 9, it's like pitch black. Parked my little ass over there, and I'm just like sitting there like, and I can feel his fucking eyes like burning holes through my skull. So I'm like, all right, I have like 5 minutes before I have to get home, like I can give you 1 kiss and then I have to go. And he's like, all right, that's fine. And so I like turn and I go to just give him like a, you know, just like a quick, that's it, that's all I wanted to do. But he like grabs my head and like keeps me there, so the kiss like keeps going. He's like shoving his tongue down my throat, and I'm like, all right, just like get through this, fucking eventually it'll be over and it'll be fine. And then bitch, he grabs my hand and like puts it in his pants on his dick. Like, to me, that's just so fucked up, to like take someone's hand and make them touch your fucking genitals, like make them touch your dick. Like, if I wanted to touch your dick, I would be, but I didn't, you know? Like, what in your head was like,
oh, I'll make her touch my dick, she'll like that.
And I like pull away, and I'm like, oh, like, look at the time, I gotta go, like, gotta be home, you know, curfew and everything. He goes and he grabs my tit, and he goes,
can I just suck it?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Like, I didn't believe, like, I thought that I was having a stroke. There's no way this boy just said, can I suck it? And I was like, no. And he yanks my shirt down. Not even shitting you. He yanks my shirt down. He's like,
please, just let me suck it. There's 1. Just let me suck 1.
if I had a dime for every single time a boy has asked for a singular one of my titties, I swear to God, I would be the richest bitch on earth. Period. He was like, let me just suck 1. And I was like, fucking no, get out of my car. And this goes on for like 10 minutes. And then finally I get his stupid ass, greasy ass, catfish ass out of my car. And then he has the audacity to text me that night and be like,
I know I look different than my pictures, but like, you're really beautiful. I hope we can go out again sometime.
like, what went through your brain to make you think that I had a nice time? What part of any of that made you feel like I had a nice time? Me asking you to get the fuck out of my car? Why would you think, She enjoyed herself. Nah. Boys be stupid as fuck, for real. Well, I don't have an outro, but thank you for listening to my story time. Hopefully, I'll be posting more of these in the future. I have a lot of stories, especially about boys. So comment some shit down below. Tell me your experiences with boys. Has anything like this happened to anyone else, or am I just like a freak of nature? Like, let me know. Thanks for watching. Give me a like, a subscribe. Have a good day. Bye.